I recently did a video short about how to create underfloor hidden lighting using solid blocks. And I got to thinking, some of the things I did in this video are pretty cool, but unless I explain how I did them, somebody's not going to know how I did them. So let me show you what I did. This is the little building I created for the short. And the first room here, I created just so that people who were new to the game could see that the common way of doing underfloor lighting is to use carpet. Now, I used a redstone lamp here, and that's so I can turn it on and off. But if you look at it, it's just carpet laid over the top of the light, and you can use any type of lighting. You could use glowstone, you could use torches, you can use end rods, you can use whatever. Put carpeting over them, and this will be the result. The only problem is when you try to put down blocks. So for example, if I try to put a piece of wood on top of this, it ends up going up there. So I literally have to remove my carpeting in order to put that down, which can create some real challenges depending on what types of blocks you're putting down. However, I came up with some different blocks. I literally went through every block in the game and looked for blocks that light would shine through. And one of them is Shulker Boxes. Now you have a variety of colors available of Shulker Boxes. In this case, I used red. And you may look at that and go, oh my gosh, Mark, that's a lot of shulkers. Well, yes and no. If you're a little more skilled at the game, maybe been doing it for a while, and you know how to build a shulker farm, you can have a ton of these, and you can make them any color you want, do any pattern you want, plus you have in-floor storage. So it's a pretty cool way of doing it. Now again, there's nothing unique here. By the way, if you're wondering why the light turns off, I just have a pressure plate here. And if we look here, you can see the underfloor lighting there. I just put the shulker box right over the top. Nothing special at all there. So let's go on to the next room. This is really similar. In this case, I used trapdoors and some planks. Now the reason I put the planks down was to mix things up a bit, get rid of some of this striped pattern effect that looked kind of weird here. Also prevented the redstone from triggering the trapdoor and opening it each time I stepped on this pressure plate, so I kind of cheated. But if you look here, open up a pressure plate, and you can see the lighting is down underneath here. Now I had to do something a little bit different, and that was to lower it down a notch, but that was to make room for the redstone. This still could have stayed up at this level, but it was an attempt to try to get that trapdoor not to open and yada yada, but pretty much the same thing. Put these underneath, put the light underneath the block, the trapdoor block, and you're gonna be good to go. Now here is a really neat idea that I didn't even really think too much about in advance. These are scaffolding and same lighting underneath, but I had to go down another layer because the problem is the scaffolding has all these little openings. So whatever lighting you're putting underneath it, you see. However, what I did is I then put in mangrove roots underneath here. Now I could have done something else, and I'll show you what that is in a moment. But in this case, I put the mangrove roots underneath to kind of offset this pattern that you see here. So now if I turn on the lights and get rid of that torch, you can kind of see some of the redstone stuff underneath there, but it really does hide that quite nicely. Going into this next one here, it's just the mangrove roots. Now this is probably one of my favorites because this looks like a cool carpeting with a neat pattern, but yet it's got this three-dimensional effect. But the only problem I ran into is the same thing. If I put another block underneath here, let's imagine, I'm just gonna leave this blank. I put that down, you can definitely see what's underneath there. So what I did instead was I put a layer of carpeting and then I put the mangrove roots. So if we go down here, you can see there's the lighting, here's the carpet, and then the mangrove roots. And I also tried it with red, which looked kind of cool. And so you can see that underneath. It's just kind of a failed experiment. So this is what happens when I show you behind the scenes. You see all of my like cheats here. Next room over is probably something you know about. A lot of people use this outside, and that is leaves. They use them to represent bushes, or they blend in nicely with the grass, or whatever. As you can see, you've got kind of that same effect. I put some more carpet underneath here, and then you end up with the same kind of three-dimensional pattern, which I personally think is pretty stinking cool. And again, it's just the lights underneath there. And then finally, there's this one. This is honey blocks and slime blocks. It's kind of an interesting effect, and it definitely slows you down, but I kind of dig it in a bizarre kind of way. This would be kind of a fun chessboard or something. I don't know. I did have one other thought that I wanted to test out, and that was using a chest, because I don't think I actually tried that. So live here, I don't even know the answer to this. I am going to give it a shot. I'm going to get some glowstone here. And I am going to get a chest. I got a feeling that might work, but the problem is going to be the gaps around here are going to be, I think, problematic. Yeah, so, I mean, there's an option too, but sometimes you can experiment and find really cool things. You never quite know what you're going to find, and the chests, quite honestly, aren't a full block anyhow. But screw around, have some fun, figure it out for yourself. And that's about it for this video. So if you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, or best of all, share. And if you didn't like this video, please keep it to yourself. Goodbye, everybody.